thank you for everyone for joining. This will be recorded so you guys can take notes and then you can review later once it gets posted on the website early next week. I do want to introduce Jason with Copa Design. He's the CEO of the company, and he'll be taking you through some tips and tricks on how to work effectively with a graphic designer. So Jason, welcome, and it's all yours.
Awesome. Thanks, Jody. And just so I can get a sense of audio, you can hear me okay, correct? Yeah?
Yep.
Daniel, can you hear me? Okay.
Yep.
Cool. All right, guys. Well, good afternoon. And thank you, Jody, for the introduction. And hey, everybody, thanks for having us. We are excited and appreciative to be able to share some simple tips and ideas about how to work better with your graphic designer. It's not rocket science what we're going to go through today, but because real estate is such a fast-paced industry, it's important for you to not only, or I should rather say it's important for not only you, but your designer to understand the best process possible to be able to get your designs quickly. So before we get started, I'd like to simply provide you with a background on our company and services and introduce you to my team. Some of them are probably going to be on here. Others are not, since they're working on some current design projects. But if they are, I'm sure they'll probably chime in and say hello. So on our team, we have Leonardo Bandera, who is our creative director and who manages all aspects of our company brand and provides our ideas and inspirations to our clients and also our teams. So he's the guy that we go to ask him, what do you think? What are the current trends? And have him actually train the trainers, right? He trains our designers. We also have Rod Mueller, who's our art director and who creates fabulous designs. And he's just phenomenal at creating iconography and wonderful logos. And you'll see some of his work today. And then we have Lucas Sosa, who's one of our great graphic designers who has a touch for creating these wonderful out-of-the-box designs. And then finally, we have Daniel Morais, who is one of our most important team members who manages all of our projects, our communications with our clients, and makes sure the flow of information from our clients gets to our designers and vice versa. So his role, even though he's not necessarily working on the designs, is crucial, and you will see why in a little bit once we start getting into the presentation. So in regards to Copa, our company, we're a creative agency and we were born out of an idea in 2003. So it's been a while and we've been around. And the idea was born from our creative director, Leonardo Bandera. He had this great idea to say, let's start a company. I know we can do it. And he is a phenomenal designer. He's the one that actually designed this presentation and these beautiful slides that you're seeing today. So you can kind of get an idea of what he can do. And in 2006, we incorporated and have since evolved into a full service creative agency. So what does that really mean? So under our umbrella, we offer graphic design, we offer full service printing, and we offer media distribution, such as direct mail, EDDM, and hand delivery. So these are things that we do very well and that a lot of real estate agents and realtors and brokerages use on a daily and weekly basis. So we've created a strong ecosystem of services which allow us to better service our clients, reduce their overall costs by being able to control all aspects of their projects, and push out high quality material very quickly. And being that we've been involved with the real estate industry for a while, we can definitely see, whoops, sorry about that. We definitely understand the importance of having quick turnarounds. So even though we offer a lot of services, our hearts and passion still falls back to design, as this is who we are at our core. We love to create and we love to educate on creating. Kind of like what I mentioned before, we love to train the trainers. And later on in the presentation, we'll be introducing you to one of our newest service called Copa Breeze, which is a flat rate graphic design service intended to take the hassle out of getting good graphic design. So with that, we'll jump into it. And I just want to make sure, Daniel, am I showing the correct screen or are you seeing my notes?
Yeah, showing the presentation, correct screen.
Great, okay, all right. Cool, so what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna turn off my camera or just put my emoji on, so that way you guys can focus on the presentation itself. Daniel, are you still seeing the presentation?
Yeah.
Okay, great. And that way you can hear what I'm saying and you can better absorb the information. And hopefully you guys will enjoy what you see. And also, by the way, there's going to be a quiz at the end. So we're going to be giving away some items such as our sustainable water bottle, which we have here. We're going to be giving away a pop socket or a few, and we'll be handing out some hats as well. So whoever wins these at the end, you'll just have to send us your information. We'll ship those right out to you, and we hope you enjoy them. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So as you guys know, today we're talking about graphic design, and every realtor needs to work with a graphic designer from time to time to create your marketing materials. And really, if it's not managed well, it can be a very time-consuming process, and in some cases, unsuccessful. So from working extensively on both sides of the aisle in terms of working with real estate and also with working with graphic design in general, we have put together these following 8 simple tips to help you make the process a lot smoother and give you insight on how you can contribute to a successful outcome. Let's see here. So starting with, oh, and also guys, just to give you a sense of community, if you have questions, feel free to submit them in the Q&A. Daniel, who's on the call, is going to be fielding those. And so if he thinks something is worth mentioning during the presentation, he'll just jump right in and we can ask that question. I'm assuming we can probably have some back and forth with you as well to open up the audio. If not, we'll wait till the end in terms of answering those questions and answers. So jumping right into the first one, super crucial and super important when you guys are starting out is be realistic when establishing your time frames. This is so important because if you don't know when you need something done, your designer is not going to know when they're going to need something done. So it's really important to understand and agree with your designer on a timeline for the project and to be clear when you need things like your first draft, your final proof, and your print ready piece. What a lot of times some people forget to think about is, even though we have a ready-made design, that thing still needs to get produced. It may need to get shipped out to you, and you may need to get that all done very, very quickly. So understand that some things in graphic design can be more time-consuming than you think, such as, for example, you may ask us to clean up a background, for example. That sounds like a simple request, but it can take the designer hours to do it depending on the specific image or depending on the specific request. Unfortunately, there isn't just a simple, clear the background button. It's actually one of our guys going through and doing what you want. So that is very time consuming. So remember that there's a lot of specialized skill and knowledge that goes into a professionally designed piece. And in real estate, this is crucial because in your industry is so fast paced. You want to think about setting up the process and pieces before you even get your listings. I'm sure some of you have probably been in that situation where you get a listing on a Friday, you're going to have photos on a Monday, and then on Tuesday, you're calling your designer saying, I need to get a flyer, a piece, a postcard by Thursday for an open house on Friday. It's not that we can't do it. It just makes it a little bit more difficult. And at the end of the day also, you're the one paying for these extra rush services. So it makes sense just to map out and plan out those timeframes with your designer. And Daniel, do you have anything you want to jump in on that? Because you're the guy who's usually getting all these calls about the designs.
Well, that slide says everything. I want this done by tomorrow. That is impossible. So if the client sends a request like 4:00 p.m. and want it done by tomorrow, that's not going to happen. So you have to plan all your marketing assets, pieces, so we can so we can actually do it. Otherwise, it won't happen.
It won't happen, right? And so, and a lot of times what we usually hear everybody is, it's not necessarily your fault, but sometimes a photographer is late. Maybe it could be the person making the blueprints. You need to get those images out, and which is totally fine and totally doable for us. The main thing is you want to communicate that with your designer, whoever it is. If it's your in-house designer, if it's your freelance designer, or if it's an agency like us, just make sure to tell them, I'm going to potentially be having a listing. Can we work on this now? So that way, when we do get those images, it's just swapping out images versus creating something from scratch all at the same time. So these are just some time, it's more of a correct planning stage versus rushing the designer, because then everybody's going to get frustrated and you may not get the result that you want. So moving on. Second tip, provide examples. This is so important for us because even though we're good designers, we're not mind readers. So by providing examples of your design work that you like, it's probably the single best way to fast track the design process. Literally, a picture is worth 1,000 words. You may not think it's your job to do this when you're working with a designer, but it's important to understand that a graphic design process is a collaboration. And the clearer you can communicate your vision, regardless of how refined or non-refined it may be, the better. So your designer can, and typically they should, still come up with original work, but the examples give them a great starting point and what we call a baseline to figure out. And what we'd also like you to encourage is for you as a realtor to be original. You can supply us with other agents' pieces that you like and tell us what you like about them, which is very common. But you're not really original when you tell a designer, just copy exactly what they have. And I'm sure some of you, or you've seen some other agents have done that, where it's just like, hey, I like what they have, just put my information on there. Yeah, that will work, but in the long run, if you're trying to create a brand, this is probably not going to help you achieve that goal. So believe me when I say we've seen it before, and it kind of causes a little bit of an awkward situation for us because our job as creators is to create based on you, and we don't want to copy your competition's pieces, because what's happened in the past is we've actually gotten feedback of thinking that the piece that we've created, that we've copied, your end client may think you're working for that other company because they look so similar. So those are just some things to think about when you're actually providing examples. Tell us what you like, tell us what you don't like, but try to be original with your thoughts. So jumping in on number 3, don't expect perfection on the first draft. Now there's a reason why we call it the first draft. It's simply a starting point. And you will usually see this on the file name with something like V1, V2, and these are the things that when we send you for your reviews and approvals. So think of this as the first step on the path to a finished piece. And this is where your input is so crucial. And a good designer will appreciate your suggestions and your constructive criticism. So here's a simple meme that we have. We have new final, final, new final, finalist, final, and you can see kind of what we have. And again, it's not a knock in terms of having so many revisions, but what you want to do is when you review your pieces, try to do your best to figure out all of those changes that you're going to need and send those back in an email or in a phone call and have those listed out so that the way the designer can go line by line, address those needs, and make sure he hits every single point that you have. Because remember, the longer and more revisions you have, the farther the can gets kicked down the road, and we may not be able to achieve your deadline, especially if it's in a rush deadline. Tip number 4, avoid generalized feedback. So with feedback, unfortunately, there's nothing very constructive about making it pop. So what exactly does that mean? And what is a wow factor? And I'm sure you've probably had clients that say, hey, I'm looking for a house and I want a house that pops. I want a house that has a wow factor. These are more emotional outcomes, and we understand what you mean, but our wow can be different from your wow. Meaning what we see as a wow factor may not necessarily be what you consider a wow factor. So specific examples or descriptions are much more useful, and your designer will appreciate this input far more. And it's one thing to give your designer creative freedom, and it's another to expect them to read your mind. And as you guys know, in this current situation, crystal balls are currently on back order at the moment. So here we have some input. Unfortunately, the final result is based on when a client has too much control. But at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we take care of you guys as much as we can. So number 5, consider the components. So in design, there's 5 main components to graphic design. Commenting on them individually when giving feedback can be very helpful in narrowing down what you'd like to see in the finished piece. Sometimes as a client, it can be hard to know exactly what you do and what you don't like about the design, but just saying or just telling your designer, I don't like it, isn't really going to be very constructive, and it's not going to get you very far. So when you're thinking about providing this feedback of what you do and you don't like, it's really important to be as specific as you can, such as, I don't like the colors, or I don't like the font. Because then at least it provides us as a design company or your graphic designer somewhere to focus in on and make sure that we can address that specific piece. And when you're giving feedback, there's simple 5 main components of graphic design that you want to focus on. You have color, which is in the left side. You have your fonts, which is the typography we're going to be using. You have your images, such as the shoe in the middle. And then you have your layout, which is once we take all these 3 elements, how do we make it look? And then at the end is your overall aesthetic. Means what is that person going to be feeling when they see that piece? Is it going to be happy, sad, nervous, confident? Those are all of the things that we want to achieve. And that's the feedback that we want from you. When you're talking with a designer, you want to tell us, I want a piece that's going to make someone feel empowered. I want a piece that's going to make someone feel happy. I want a piece that's going to make someone feel like they can live here. So those descriptive words are wonderful for us to be able to have when we're actually creating the designs. Next, we have, for tip number 6, don't be too controlling. And this can be a little bit challenging because we want to make sure, or I should say, you want to make sure that you get the piece that you want. So always allow space for us as designers for our input and creativity. One dynamic that can happen if you're very particular or if you lose faith in your designer is that you start to direct every little design piece and you start to micromanage. And so to put this into perspective, for a real estate perspective, have you ever had a client who you were just showing houses upon houses to, and then they end up sending you all the listings that they want to see and criticizing you for all the ones that you send them that actually fit their criteria? So I have a lot of clients who have told us this, and sometimes they just shake their head and says, I don't get it. But similar to on the graphic design side is when you start controlling the project, the outcome is not as good as it can be. So in the same manner with your designer, they will slowly get excluded from the creative process. And at some point, they may eventually just give up their artistic input altogether. And when this happens, the job can start to slide down a very precarious and dangerous path. You start creating that awkward type of feeling, and it just doesn't make for a good project or transaction. And usually in a situation like this, what has happened is that the designer doesn't know what you want. They may have mistaken, or I should say, you have probably mistaken them for being a bad designer, when in actuality, they're probably really good. So a good designer will know how to remedy this by asking you questions and basically just resetting. It's like, let's just talk, let's get back to zero, and let's figure it out. But if you feel this is happening, then the best thing to do is to simply step back, what we say, get some altitude, right? Talk to your designer and try to clarify with visual examples exactly what you want. Then the project can get back on track. Your working relationship is a lot better. And at the end, you can get your designs a lot quicker. So our 7th tip, don't be afraid to ask questions. Super important and super crucial. You're paying your designer for a creative process and a creative point of view. But ultimately, you're the client and ultimately you're the boss. So if the image or the pattern that they use or that they selected confuses you, simply just ask them to explain. It can be very simple and just say, hey, I know you put this here, but why? I don't get it. So if it confuses you, it may confuse your audience as well. And this is why that feedback is very crucial. Us as a creative agency here at Copa, we have a specialty in real estate design. But that doesn't mean every single design piece we hit the mark. 99 out of 100 times we will, but there are those times to where sometimes our clients will ask, hey, why did you put this house here? How come you use this font? Why is this space like this? And usually a designer is going to have a response of why they put something in its place. And if that reason doesn't jive well with you, or if it still doesn't make sense, that's when you can simply say, okay, can we give it another revision? Or can we change some things around? But a clear red flag is if you're working with your designer and they simply say it looks good, then you want to make sure that you understand that that designer should be designing with a purpose. And so if they're simply giving you generalized feedback of saying, yeah, it looks good, I put it there because I like it, those really aren't the type of responses that you should be getting from a designer. They should be justifying that with the reasons why they're actually putting them in their place. So as we say, designers should be designing very well, but they should also be designing with a purpose. And so we hear, and thank you to Rod, our designer, who is a huge Star Wars fan. As Yoda says, ask questions, you should. And moving on, our final tip, trust the process. Just like your clients trust you to find them the best house or to sell the home at the highest possible price, they have to trust you as a professional and as a realtor. You have to trust your designer as well. So if your designer has a background in design or is somebody who is very creative and well-versed in the craft, then simply trust the process. They have your best interest in mind. So if you feel that they don't, then maybe it's time for that conversation to really ask them, what's your methodology of designing stuff for me? And if you don't, or if you're not satisfied with that response, then it might be time to look for another designer, another agency, and or another option. But the main thing that you want to do is, as I mentioned previously, is you don't want to try to control the project, because once you start controlling that project, the more frustrated you're going to become. So you want to take a step back, take a deep breath, and again, what we explained, take some altitude, and then get back to working with your designer. So again, just trust the process. And usually when you do that, the outcome is very, very good and very, very positive. Designers are wonderful, wonderful people who can take your thoughts, take your written word, and visually put something out there that's very, very strong. And so as we kind of progress in this presentation, just always remember that design is a subjective process, and there is no set in stone, quote unquote, right way to go about it. But at the same time, it is a collaborative process, and understanding that process, having realistic expectations, having patience, and having excellent communication will go a long way towards a successful outcome. And on that note, just like in real estate, selecting the right designer is important on the final outcome. Someone who is seasoned, someone who is experienced, someone who understands the industry, someone who keeps up with continuing education, which we all know is important, is going to create a great experience. And this is something that we have seen working with our clients in the real estate industry. A lot of the best realtors are those that are the ones who are keeping up with all the continuing education, who are the ones who are following the latest trends, and who really represent their clients in the best light possible. If you let price or turnaround time dictate your choices on a good designer, then you're going to be cornering yourself into a cycle of frustration, because what ends up happening is you're commoditizing the service. And I'm sure you guys can agree with me and relate to this when you have a client and you're possibly going on a listing presentation and they come back to you and say, hey, I know your fee is 6%, but can you do it for 4%? You're still going to get paid a lot of money. And you're sitting there going, well, I'm not sure. What can I take away from my services to you? And so what you want to do is you want to think about it in that aspect. The moment you start commoditizing and coming back to your design company or your freelancer and saying, hey, I found somebody who can do it for $50 or $100, you're really devaluing their service, and it doesn't really create for a long-term relationship. Good design should be smooth and should be pain-free, because remember, your graphic design pieces are a direct extension of you, of your brand. And so why wouldn't you want to put them in the best light possible? Whoops, how come I didn't go down? All right, so as we're coming to a close, here are just some before and after pieces of what we've done for some of our clients. These are before pieces. They're very good. They look very nice. And then we have some after pieces of what good design can do. Same content, nothing has changed, but you can see the wow factor that these clients are looking for. Again, some simple information, a lot of information, but when you talk with a designer, they're able to extract the main points and put it in a visually appealing piece. So with that, before we jump into the Copa Breeze part, I just want to say thank you very much on behalf of our entire team. And I'm not sure if there's any questions or if anybody wants to ask any questions. I personally can't see you guys, so I don't see if anybody's asking questions or raising hands, but Jody, feel free to open it up to Q&A.
Mark Blau, I think I said his name right, just raised his hand. So
how do we open this up?
I don't know. You can Mark, you can use the Q&A. Okay, he used the chat. I came in, his question is, I came in late. Have you discussed what kind of cost should we expect?
Got it. I think you might be seeing that on my screen too. Mark, that's a great question. In terms of costs, with design, there's a broad range. You can find a good designer for $50. You can find a good designer for $100. But really, you should be expecting, at least if you're looking at, if a few pieces, at least a few $100 for a specific piece. And what you want to think about is not creating a specific piece, but actually creating a template. So the range can go from anywhere from, again, $50 to $75 for a simple piece to, we've had agents where we've charged them a few $1,000s because we're not simply creating one piece, we're creating a whole family of pieces. And so with that, what I wanted to do quickly before we have any other questions is, Copa as a company, we're launching our newest service called Copa Breeze. And what we call it, it's called Design That's Easy Peasy. And so in terms of a piece or pricing, what this service is going to be entailing is for a simple flat rate, you will be able to get any sort of design needs that you require. Very simple, very basic, but very good in terms of value. So with it is unlimited graphic design at a flat rate with dependable turnarounds, typically 24 to 48 hours. The newest service that we're offering is fast, affordable, and simple. In other words, we're making it a breeze. And I will be emailing this out to anybody who may want to review it. But just in terms of how it works, you would submit your design request. We would work our design magic. You would review your design draft. And then once it's approved, we'll send you the design piece itself and also the source files. And here we have pricing. So Mark, in terms of answering your questions, in general, a price can be around anywhere from, at least our charges, $185 to maybe $200 to $300 for a specific postcard or flyer. As you can see with some of our levels of services, our basic price plan is starting out at $500 a month. So you can do the math. If you need 1 or 2 pieces, you're going to be spending about the same as paying for a month, and you can be getting all the design requirements that you need. So in terms of, and I'm looking at your piece right here, for example, I saw a piece you did for Brad at Realty World. What kind of cost would that be? And am I able to ask that question verbally? Well, I think I just asked it for you verbally. That piece was part of a larger project. Actually, Brad did a decent sized investment with us. So overall, he invested a few $1,000s, but we created an entire family, entire suite of pieces for him. And now what he does every time he gets a listing, which he seems to be getting a lot right now in this current market, we simply are updating and maintaining his work. So the templates are already created. He sends us all the information. He sends us his photos. We update. We send it to him. He approves. We go to press. We have it to him. And so with him, and we've done turnaround times in a little as 48 to 72 hours. We don't really like to do it that much, but at the same time, if it has to happen, it will happen and we will get it done. But that can give you some general ideas of what you can be expecting in terms of costs. Let me see. Yeah, if you want to open up, Jody, to questions, I'm not sure.
Sure. Does anybody else have questions? Mark, did your question get answered? Otherwise, I can unmute you. Does anybody else have questions about the process, about any of the tips?
Oh, do I think we have to ask them we have to do our quiz, right? You have to ask them the question.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, let me unmute Mark. Give me one
Mark wants to talk
second.
first. Yeah.
Okay, Mark Blau.
Hey guys, Mark likes to talk. So Jason, great. I apologize to miss the first 15, 20 minutes of the presentation. I was really impressed, first of all, about what you did for Brad, that before and after. I mean, what a difference it made, I thought. I've seen some of Brad's stuff too. And I assume you're doing most of his stuff for him. Is that right?
Yeah, we're doing probably 99% of the items that he utilizes,
Very nice
even for his, even for his digital marketing as well.
So on the Copa Breeze, just so I understand that, it's a $4.99 would get me what? I was kind of question about that.
Absolutely. So the Breeze service that we're offering, $4.99 will get you access to us. Essentially, would be on call. You'll be assigned one of our dedicated designers. You'll be assigned to somebody like Daniel, who's on this call. And let's say if you have a design requirement, you would simply send us a message or upload it to our project management system. And then from there, you would provide us with that content. I need an 8.5 by 11 flyer. It's a listing it's a listing flyer. Here's my images. Here's my content. I need the turnaround time within the next, few days. We would take that information, assign it to one of our designers, such as Lucas, Rod, or Leo. They would get to work, and then we would deliver that piece for you. If you had additional pieces as well, you can simply say, I need a postcard, I need a flyer, I need a brochure, I need this, I need that. You could upload as many projects as you would want. Now, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be working on your layouts one by one. So we'll work on your flyer. Once that's complete, we'll jump to your brochure. We'll jump to your postcard. So we will go down your list of items, but you do have that option of submitting as many projects as you need. And it works great for a lot of our clients, especially for a lot of the realtor clients, because they always need something. And typically a realtor will send us 1 to 2 projects, maybe 3 projects a week, possibly. And we've had some that send us a lot more. So again, you actually have access to submitting as many projects as you need. We'll get them done. Usually takes us around 24 to 48 hours for a turnaround. Once you're approved, you tell us what you need us to do from there. If you need us to print it for you, we'll print and ship. If you need it as a digital piece, we'll do that as well.
Does that include, just to make sure I understand it, it's all inclusive. There's a flat rate, whatever it is. And if I wanted you to do something for me for my web page, that's a graphic design, you could do that.
We could. We won't design your web page, but if you said, hey, I want a custom banner, That's definitely within the scope of what we can do.
And newsletter too, same thing.
Newsletters, that would be a little bit more custom. We would just have to see what it looks like, but I would assume that would be something that we can do. If it's, if we're creating a book, well, then we'd have to say, okay, let's discuss. But if it's, creating a newsletter and we actually have the layout or the content from you, I wouldn't see why we couldn't be able to produce that for you.
Great, Jason. Yeah, reach out to me if you could sometime. Thanks.
Wonderful, I will. And feel free to ask any question you want to give out the hats and the bottles.
Oh yeah. I'll leave that to you.
Okay.
I'm thinking of a question. You can ask one. I'm thinking of another one. So.
Great. So I think one of the questions could be, what type of expectations should you have when working with the designer? I think that was one of the slides. I think it was like slide 1 or 2. I think it was slide 3. Bueller. I can't see the questions either, so can we get the slides? Oh, Jody. Yes, Mark. I think Jody will send the slides to you as well.
Yep, the recording and the slides all get out to everybody.
I think is everybody shy?
Yeah, nobody answered.
No. Maybe we'll make an easier one. What should you provide to your designer? How about that? What should you provide to your designer if you want to get a good design? Hopefully I didn't put everybody to sleep.
I think he's talking. It's just super low.
Who, Mark? No, looks like he's muted. But at least his mic is crossed. So.
I don't know. Well, Jody, what do we do here?
For the audio for him?
I don't know. I unfortunately I can't.
I think you can unmute everybody and let's see.
Yeah, let me see if I can unmute. I'm just gonna allow everybody to talk. I'm going through, so I've allowed everyone. You're all on mute, but if you've got a question, you can ask it. Diane, do you have a question?
I was just gonna say, can you hear me?
Yep.
I was just gonna say anything that, any ideas you have in your head or any things that you like, you have to provide to that designer. Anything and everything that can help them do their job correctly.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so
ideas from wherever, other brochures, ideas from other pieces, and then maybe ideas from your own head.
Absolutely. Yes.
Hey,
so
I had a comment, guys. Mark, sorry. Tied in what the question was. I think maybe it's me. I think the graphic designer needs to understand what my goal is, what I'm trying to achieve. I mean, am I just doing a picture so it just looks pretty and I can pass it out to everybody? Or is my goal for something people to react to it and to do something with it? Does that make sense? That's how you see your job. Understanding what my goal is. And then once you understand it, take my ideas and make it happen.
Absolutely. So it would be so providing examples. So yes, that's exactly what we would want. And so Mark and I'm sorry, I didn't catch the young lady's name who answered before, but if you could provide Jody your information, we can send you out some swag, and you could just let us know if you'd like a hat, if you'd like a bottle. I personally like the bottles. I think they're really cool. We'll ship that out to you guys right away. And then for the last one, if you guys remember, what were the 5 components that make up a design? And so I think we can, I mean, even if I don't know if everybody will remember 5, but if you can remember at least two of the 5, then I think we can call that winner chicken dinner.
Color.
Yep.
That's one of them.
That's one.
Fonts.
2.
That's 2 of them.
Pictures.
There you go. If you can get all 5, we're going to send you more than a bottle.
The final piece, how it all gets together.
Yep, the aesthetic overall layout.
What was the fourth one?
Come on, Diane.
I'm blanking on the fourth. The color, the font, the picture.
Anybody
Yeah,
else remember? Rodrigo?
I can't reply because I'm on the team, so I won't get anything.
Oh, got it. Okay.
I'm the designer. Yeah.
He's the one that he's the one
You
that
better
came
know
up
all
with it.
5.
Yeah. And everybody, if you're on the line, if you have a specific question for the designers, I mean, this is kind of a cool and excellent time to ask them anything
Yeah.
that you have. My job here in terms of managing the company and running it is one thing, but if you have questions on like how it actually gets done, I mean, you can ask Rod directly. I don't know if Lucas is on the line, but I mean, it's really cool to kind of understand how they do things. And all the examples that you're seeing in here are things that we've actually created. So like this La Boulanger, they are our client. So yeah, feel free. Feel free
I
to
have to
ask.
say, I've worked with graphic designers in the past, and one of the things that I always try to do is I try to come with an idea, but I also allow a graphic designer to be creative. I mean, that's what their job is as a creative. So if you give them some ideas, sometimes it's kind of fun to see what somebody else comes up with the examples that you've given.
Absolutely. And Rod, do you want to touch on that? Because usually when a client's giving us feedback, you're the one that's asking us, okay, what do they mean? Like where's their reference?
Yeah, that actually is part of like not trying to have full control over the design. When you offer us like a reference of some pieces or over another router's pieces, we are gonna actually look at it and extract what we think is best from all of that, given our knowledge on design and on communication. And we may present you something that's very different from what you sent us as a reference, but we will give you our opinion and our knowledge why that's being done and how that be better for you than just having most of what they had on their pieces. So it's part of our job to take the best out of what you send us and give you the best of what we think is good for you.
Right. So providing those examples. And I think, Jody, I think, we've done work with each other before, and you've always been really good in terms of saying, this is kind of what I envision, this is what I see. And so, yeah, and in the real estate world, this would be exactly kind of like your client telling you, I want a 2-bedroom house, three bedroom, 2 bath. I want a pool, I want a yard, I want this, I want that. So they're kind of giving you their wish list. And as realtors, you guys dive a little bit deeper and saying, well, what is it that you like? What type of bedrooms? And I'm assuming you guys have some deeper questions that you would be asking your clients. The same thing with us. We're going to be asking you as many deep questions as we can, but the more information you have, it just makes it easier to work with your designer. And again, this could be, we work with some agents that have an in-house designer, and these agents are pushing out, designs all day long for a specific a team, but it's still really important for you to communicate with your in-house designer to say, this is my look, this is my feel, this is what I want. And even if your brokerage has a brand manual, brand theme, brand guideline, you can still provide that information to that designer so they can make it a little bit more customized for you, while at the same time being respectful to the actual, what we call the mother brand. So if you're with Intero, follow the Intero guidelines, but they can actually change a little bit to make it customized to you. So having those reference pieces are really, really good and really helpful for a design.
I think you made a really good analogy that hopefully resonates with people is, you ask them, they may say, I want a yard. Well, a yard is subjective. Do you want grass? No grass? Do you want rocks? What does that yard look like? So I think when you're telling the graphic designer the different aspects of what they want, to your point, trying to get as specific as possible. Because if somebody, I want to, this is what I want. Well, I gave you a yard. that's not exactly what you wanted. So, yeah, I think it's super, super important to not only say you want a yard, but what do you want it to look like?
Right, right. And I've heard some horror stories from some of my real estate clients of saying, I'm just tired of showing these houses or sending this stuff. I wish this person would make a decision. But that's where, you know, you kind of have to ask those deeper questions. And sometimes, you know, not every client's going to be perfect. But us as a design company, we want to be able to ask as much as we can to be able to extract that data from your head and extract that vision from your head. So yeah, you're absolutely right, Jody. Okay, I mean, I guess, are there any more questions?
This is a super unique opportunity to get all these minds at once. So if you've got questions, send them.
Hey, Jason. Jason.
Hello.
It's Mark again.
Hey, Mark.
Can you show us some more before and afters? I like those. I mean, just give me some ideas. Do you have any more that you can share with us?
We do. I can email them to you directly. We selected these just for the presentation purposes. But yeah, I'd be more than happy to supply some more before and afters. Right now, they're kind of sitting in various folders on our server.
Okay.
But yeah, be more than happy to share with you some of our information and some before and afters. And you know,
I think that's really effective.
a lot of the stuff that we do which is helpful from a real estate point of view, and what realtors have told us is realtors are used to providing data. And so they just want to give data, as much data as they can, to a potential client. The client, on the other hand, doesn't necessarily want to or can absorb all that data that a realtor gives them. And so a lot of times you have clients who they receive a lot of information, but they really can't make a decision because it's just overwhelming. So I think it's paralysis or analysis. So our job as a design company is to extract the key points that you want to be able to showcase and allow your end consumer, your potential customer, to review it. And that's what's going to cause them to ask more questions. And once your client starts asking you more questions, then you know you have a viable lead, because then they're involved with you already. They have your piece, they understand it, and then they're going to start asking you those questions. And that's where you as a professional starts going in and following your sales process and presentations.
Well, I can see the difference, Jason, between the first piece you showed a minute ago and this one.
Yeah.
I mean, this one right away, within 1 minute, you got a good understanding. The other one, you have to go through all the meat, and most people are not even read, they won't go beyond the first paragraph, and they'll stop.
Right,
So,
right. And a lot of
good.
this information it's the same information. We may recommend cutting a little bit, but most of the information that we would do when we do a redesign for an agent is we're using their existing content that they have. We're just presenting in a different light.
Great. Good job.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Sorry, my name is Christina. I just want to know whether you guys have a contact information we can contact you after the presentation.
We do, yes. I think Jody will be able to send that information. But yes, all of our contact information will be shared. If you have any questions, and again, kind of our services, we do design. That's our main focus. For a lot of agents, we provide printing services. So we may not even design something. They will send us information. We'll produce their flyers or brochures or banners or direct mails. We'll do all that for them. And then our third service is our direct mail, Every Door direct mail, which is becoming very popular. And then hand delivery distribution. So we have teams that will go out and deliver notepads and things to the actual porch, which is very important for real estate agents to market as well. Right now, and given the current situation, we're not doing that service right now. So everything has shifted to direct mail and Every Door direct mail for marketing. So if you're a realtor and you're thinking about doing your marketing, it's a great time for direct mail. As an example, just some simple stats. Before the pandemic hit, 12 to 18 pieces of direct mail per day in your mailbox. Right now, you have between 6 to 8. And so this is a great time for you to be standing out because there was less clutter in a physical mailbox. Everybody is sitting at home, and so they want to see mail. People want interaction. So people are very happy to go to their mailbox and actually read what's in there. So this may be a good time for you to think about your marketing and outreach.
Do you help design logos as well?
We do design logos. We have designed a good amount of logos for a lot of real estate agents and realtors and brokerages. So we'd be more than happy to showcase some logo designs for you if you'd like to
Yeah,
see.
Graham's is actually one that started with the logo, and we ended up redoing all of his pieces.
Right. Yeah. So this gentleman, Graham Watts, you can see his logo in the bottom left. We really don't showcase it that well, but you can kind of see it in this after piece, the top left. I'm sorry, the other one was bottom right. This one top left. But we can show you some. Be more than happy to show you some logo examples to kind of see our work. And having a custom logo is a great way to brand yourself as a realtor.
Yeah, I'm
you
an
can follow
independent.
us at Instagram as well at We Are Copa. We have some good examples of logos as well.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I'm an independent, so I might want to spruce up my logo that I kind of made up.
We'd love to be able to chat with you about that.
Yeah, we can help them.
Daniel, can you put or Rod, can you put in there the Instagram page? People can click on it if they want to see it.
Yeah, I'll put it on the chat for everyone.
Sure.
Hey, Jason, Mark again
Yeah.
here. Hey, can you go back to your Cool Breeze, the pricing on that?
Sure. Let's see here.
Or Copa Breeze, or whatever you call
Copa
it.
Breeze, yeah.
Cool
We call it
Breeze.
Breeze. Yeah, we call it Breeze because, you know, it's a breeze to work with us. So that's kind of our fancy way of offering our service. But
Okay. So fill me in, what's the difference between these 3 different plans?
so there's 3 different plans. So the first level is our entry level basic. We call it Meadow Breeze. It's our basic plan. It's good for individual marketers and small businesses. So this is a perfect plan for realtors. As I mentioned, realtors need stuff on a constant basis. And so this is a great way for them to get what they need without really having to spend much. And also it's a huge time saver. So with this plan, you would be able to get your postcards, your flyers, your banners, kind of all the general items that you would need to run your business. The next plan up is $7.99 a month. This is more for, same thing for marketers, but mainly small business teams. So if it's maybe you and a partner, or you have maybe a team of 3 or 4 agents, they all need something. This is a great way to invest in your team, allowing them to get those custom designs. Follow the same patterns, same format as the first level, but you're just getting more, and you're getting more attention from us, and you can actually have more people on your team who are submitting designs. The final one is what we call the Mountain Breeze, which is the largest one. It's $1,300 a month, $1,299. That's more for that would be more for like a brokerage, a small business, or anybody that has maybe an in-house marketer who's possibly doesn't have enough time to do the design, but they have the marketing capacity. So that's where they would use us as their outsourced design company to provide those pieces that they would need. And so again, relating back to real estate, this would be good for brokerages.
I'm trying to decide, I mean, between the Meadow Breeze and the Sea Breeze, the difference is, this is advanced features, but what's considered an advanced feature?
So advanced features, and we'll be able to send you that information, kind of what we call our scope of work, where we would actually be able to add in some video capabilities. Means we're not going to go out and shoot your video, but if you have existing video, we can offer video editing services. There's additional things that we would offer under the design plan. So we don't design websites, but we could design landing pages for you. So there's a lot of extra things that you would get. And these are things that people or teams would need on a more robust basis. So typically a realtor is going to need XYZ. A few realtors are going to need a little bit more than that. And so we would be able to supply more of those services, and we could send you that scope of work. Oh, and I forgot to mention, which is really important. So part of this is once we send out the email, all these plans that you see in the prices, if anybody signs up in the next week or so, we'll knock off $100 a month for life. As long as you're a client of ours, we will knock off that $100 a month. And so the $499 plan then becomes $399, et cetera, et cetera. It's a great opportunity to actually bring on an outsourced design team and actually have a solid design team at your side at a relatively low price. Did that answer your question, Mark?
Yeah, it did. I'm still just trying to put it all together here. So with the, let me ask you, with Seabreeze, you can have more than one person in that? I mean, are we
Yeah,
limited?
so if it
I
was,
want to partner with another agent or a couple agents here. Which plan would I be able to use?
so if you're in your own company, what you wouldn't want to do is kind of you don't want to do membership sharing. So you would come in, and if it's for you, we would do it for you. But if you have people on your team, maybe your buyer's agents or your seller's agents, or whoever is kind of on your team, they would be able to submit those requests as well. And I think we're offering, I think it's up to 2 or 3, additional people who could be on that account.
Okay. Yeah, we can talk that offline.
Sure.
Listen, thanks, Jason. Great job.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Thank you. Yeah. Okay.
Cool. Any other questions, comments, thoughts? Okay.
All right. Well,
Hey,
I
thanks,
think,
Jody. Good job also.
Thanks, Mark.
so Mark, we'll need your address, and then I think was it Diane?
Yes.
Send your address as well so we can send you some cool swag.
Can I just put my phone number in there, Jason? Give me a call. Send me a
I
chat.
promise I will. I promise I will.
I'll put my email on there too.
Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you to the team at COPA. I truly appreciate this. A lot of good information, and we will get this all posted to the website as well for those that weren't able to make it today.
Thank you very much for having us. Really appreciative. And if any of the agents on the call have questions, feel free to send us an email. We're quick to respond. We know real estate design well, and we definitely would love to work with you.